The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's a Monday in a Riv, and boy, do we have a big Monday today. We got so much to talk about, and the theme of today's show is why we have to drain the swamp. We have had, over the last week or so, the greatest example of why, even if somebody's doing a good job, you got to boot them out after they've had a reasonable amount of time. There's got to be term limits imposed by us, because they will never allow term limits to be imposed on them, because the public just doesn't seem to grasp what they do. But if you're not outraged by how dumb they think we are, and by the preferential treatment we always talk about, we always talk about on this show how congressmen get the best health care, so they don't really care about fixing health care, how they get a retirement if they spend one day in a seat, and you have to work 40 years. But even on a local level, preferential treatment. And then it's bad enough. We see the preferential treatment. But then when you listen, as I have, to the barrage of propaganda trying to justify the fact that they're getting over, it's nauseating. I've listened to people. This morning I was listening to somebody who called up and said, well, what's the big deal? I did renovations on my property and I didn't get a tax increase immediately. And blah, blah. Well, maybe they should look at it. That's an indictment of Fall River's government. Our assessor's office is so bad that if you renovate and you spend $100 grand on your house, your taxes don't go up. You pull all the permits, they don't check. How many years, CJ, did it take them to inspect Cathy's house?
They did it Wednesday.
Wednesday. How long has she owned that house? She bought it in 2014, I believe. Isn't that correct?
2014, let me look here.
Yeah, well, look it up in the article, please.
It looks like it's got to be 2014 or 15.
Well, okay, it's been more than a year.
And
more than 2 years.
And she did all the work in April of 2016. She took out all the permits.
Well, regardless of that, the initial tax assessment, and I spoke to some people in the field. They say normally a tax assessment is based on the general property values in that area. That was about half of the general property values. So you're going to say, well, she had nothing to do with it. Well, we have been told by fairly reliable sources that she's friendly with people involved in that office, and obviously she is. But explain to me why it took up until 2019 to get into her property to inspect it. What is our assessor, what is our city doing? What is she doing? Isn't she in charge of trying to run this city financially? Isn't she supposed to doesn't she complain about people not paying their taxes? That we have to collect back taxes because that's what runs the city. Yet it's okay for her to pay undervalue. She's supposed to be a numbers person. She couldn't figure out that everybody around her was paying double the taxes. She had a fiduciary obligation as the city senate administrator to pay her fair share. As a resident of Fall River, she should pay her fair share. And I'm not restricting it to Cathy Ann Viveiros. Some people have said Carol Fiola. I don't care who they are. There's some saying Tony Costa, the guy that got indicted, had his house go down 50. But let's check everybody. But here's the core issue to me. This woman is in charge of the financial running of this city. How do we pay our bills? Tax revenue. So you're going to tell me that she can't figure out she's not paying enough taxes, and if she's not paying enough taxes, even if she wasn't responsible, there may be a lot of other people, if our assessor's office is that incompetent. Took them 5 years to inspect their property when she works in the building that they work in? Come on. You know, you can urinate on my head all you want, but don't try to convince me it's raining. Preferential treatment, again, to politicians. Nobody would have ever inspected that property. As soon as that newspaper article hit, they got the keys to her property. And it wasn't assessed properly at the get-go. And then we have people calling up trying to justify it. Well, you know, I renovated my property and it took them 4 years before they raised my taxes. Well, shame on the assessor's office. They should clean the entire assessor's office out. You pull a permit, you improve your house. Unfortunately, you pay. And I don't care who you are. All I'm asking is that you operate under the same rules that I have to do. I have to pay my taxes every year. My house is assessed. My fire insurance goes up every year because they say replacement value. They got more ways to jack up my expenses. But if you're a politician, you can not allow people to get into your property and that's their excuse? Well, guess what? When I was on the fire department and they wanted to make an inspection and it refused access, they went to court and got a court order to inspect it. You're going to tell me that the city administrator, the city of Fall River, refused to allow people in there? And she didn't realize she was underpaying? Well, she doesn't belong, because see, there's a catch-22. Because if that's true, she's proving she's incompetent at what she does. Because you don't have to be a rocket scientist, a mall manager, or even a financial genius to look around you and know it in that neighborhood, houses are not valued assessed at 133. Then some guy called up and said, well, my assessment went down. Your assessment only goes down when the tax rate goes up. They're going to get their tax money. But everybody's not paying their fair share. And as a taxpayer, I'm angry. And I'm angry about all the breaks they get. They don't have to abide by the law. They don't have to do anything. Because everybody's afraid. Oh, everybody's afraid to run up to Cathy's office and say, hey, we got to assess your property. You can bet your butt that if it was your property, they'd be in there. If somebody looked at your property and you're living in the middle of the Highlands and you're getting a house assessed at $89,000 when all the houses around you are $250,000 and $300,000, I can bet you, well, then again, no, I can't because we're dealing with the Fall River Assessor's Office. But again, there's another problem with our government. Who's minding the store? Again, we get down to the bottom line. Where's the accountability? All I'm asking is everybody is treated equally and equitably and everybody pays their fair share. I've been paying taxes since 1971. And I never got a break. So that's all I'm asking. So, okay, CJ, your turn.
Interesting.
Huh?
I said interesting.
Yeah.
Because the property was actually bought in 2016.
Okay.
I'm reviewing this.
All right.
And
But that's when she did all the renovations.
right,
correct?
right. That's when she took out the permits. And here's the funny thing about this. She, according to Benjamin Mello, who's the city assessor,
who, by the way, that's one of the individuals they said she has a very close relationship with. And that's an allegation.
Right.
But
and he was appointed.
It smacks of somebody should check into that.
Right, and he was appointed by Jazel Correa.
Well.
And I think that was to replace Brad Kilby, wasn't it?
Yes.
That's right. So, according to the assessor's record, the value of the building increased substantially to $79,300, with the land value maintained at $105,400. The document also shows that an assessor's inspection of the Hathaway Street home occurred Wednesday, the same day Viveiros announced her write-in campaign for mayor, and a day after federally indicted Mayor Jazel Correa II made public the intent to take an indefinite leave of absence from his job. Ponte, as president of the city council, has taken over Correa's day-to-day duties. But here's the interesting thing, because we got confirmation that, well, we had heard that Mary Sahadi and the city assessor were going to review this. And Cliff Ponte denies that. He says that information's inaccurate. It's Matt Thomas, who's the real estate attorney for the city, and Mary Sahadi. So still we got a potential conflict of interest. Mary Sahadi.
Yeah, absolutely. A close friend. And it should be someone that has no affiliation with the city.
Right. Now here's the thing. Director of Inspectional Services Glenn Hathaway had earlier indicated that copies of all building permits are provided to the assessor's office. So the assessor has no argument here. Cathy Ann says, "I know I'm going to stop at this point," Viveiros said during the interview with the Herald News. "I'm not going to say anything further because of the review and potential personnel problems." So she knows somebody did something wrong.
Yeah. And let's see how many of her friends she throws under the bus.
Right. Paul Coogan was also not a happy camper. And he says, and one of the highest paid employees is getting a tax break on a beautiful piece of property. It's a disgrace.
And that's putting it mildly.
That is putting it mildly.
That is putting it mildly. And we know, obviously, as I said, but let's put this again. Let's reiterate and put it in the context of this individual. This isn't some rube who doesn't know anything. This is a person who has just touted herself, and by the way, falsely, is saving $15 million in the healthcare system, which wasn't a savings, it was a cost shift to the employees. It wasn't, and any savings was realized by the Insurance Advisory Committee, the Public Employee Committee, and the HR department, and a whole battery and cadre of people. Not Cathy Ann Viveiros. Cathy Ann Viveiros probably spent the least amount of time in the room during all the negotiations. And if she wants to challenge me on that, I'll bring in everybody on the committee.
She can come on the show and challenge you.
Yeah, well, she can come on anytime she'd like, because she wants to debate Coogan, but I'll debate her anytime she'd like, because I know who did all the heavy lifting, and it was not Cathy Ann Viveiros. But she's a politician, and they take credit for everything good and deny that they had anything to do with anything that's negative. But again, let's look at this and put it in context. This is an individual who gets up there every year at budget time and talks about unfunded liabilities, tax revenue. Did she ever check to ensure that we were maximizing our tax revenue? No, it's apparent that she didn't, because she was one of the individuals. She is the prototype of tax abuse. She didn't know it. If she didn't know it, she's not much of a financial genius. But then what disturbs me is she didn't let anybody into her property. You're going to tell me that nobody went up to her office and said, we got to get into your property. They never sent her a letter. They never did anything for all this time when they knew it was undervalued. And you're going to tell me there was no collusion there? Look, You're not urinating on my head, if you expect me to believe that. You're defecating on my head. And you're going to try to pawn it off as a mudslide, because that is BS to the max. So shame on everybody. But this, again, is why we have to get rid of politicians, good or bad, because power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. They get away with things you and I could never get away with.
Nope, and that's a very old quote, but you know what? It's also very true.
It's very true, absolutely. We look, does a state rep or a senator ever get stopped for speeding by a statey?
No.
No. And if they do, they go, you want me to give you an escort? That's what the statey tells them.
And if you got an inspection sticker that's 13 months expired, you don't have anything happen, do you?
Yes, so we'll let Alan Sylvia know, just in case he's been so busy politicking that he forgot that he has a requirement to get an inspection sticker. He has an inspection sticker that says 09, and it's red. It's not the proper color. So it's at least a year old. It's at least 13, because I think it's October, correct?
Correct.
And September was last month, right?
Correct.
So it's at least 13 months overdue. So again, will he ever get tagged? Actually, 2 people on my street last week got cited, and justifiably. Hey, you're wrong. You know, you're wrong.
You're wrong. Yeah.
But they got cited because they had inspection stickers that had expired, and they were parked legally on the street, but they were apparently someone from parking enforcement, or whatever they call it, or, you know, walk down the street, and I guess they're walking up and down neighborhoods.
They're actually driving, and I know I know that parking enforcement officer, because she would stop by my house almost every day one month, and she would tag a different car every day about something. And as soon as she saw inspection stickers that were invalid at $50 or $75, and she'd write that ticket once a week until it got changed. And then she started towing vehicles. So,
and you're right. And I know that there were 2 vehicles with tags on them, and they had inspection stickers, and they also have registration. They'll tag you for registration, too, on your plate, because I've seen them tagged for that, too. So they're tagging you, and look, nobody's complaining. If you got an expired sticker, you got an expired sticker. There's nothing you can say, I'm wrong, unless you're a politician. Because you're not going to tell me nobody noticed that. I mean, it's a different color, and and the number on it is 9. It's 10. So even if it was this year's sticker, it was expired. But it's not this year's sticker, because it's a different color, and it's a month that's gone by. But I can guarantee you that he will never get tagged by anybody. He will never get stopped for speeding, as all politicians do. And if that doesn't disturb you people, I don't know what can. They don't have to pay their fair share in taxes. They don't have to live by the same rules we do.
hell, they don't even pay to drive to work.
That's right. They get paid to drive to work.
That's right. They get paid to drive to work, and they get a stipend on top of that.
And they get a stipend on top. But this is one of the problems. And now we can segue into the excuses for Jazel. Somebody called today when I was listening, and I normally don't listen, but now I have to listen as much as it pains me. Somebody called up, and I know you're prepared for this one. Somebody called in, and I know I tried to get on the line, and I don't know whether I'm intentionally blocked when they say it's me, and I know you are.
I am.
You for sure, but I think I am also. But I tried to get on the Mark Monroe Dion show today because somebody called up and said, what's the big deal about Jazel getting a pay? When they got rid of him, he was going to get a pay anyway, so it's the same thing. Well, no. There you go again. The Jazel Jombies love to make totally apples and orange arguments that are not valid. Well, there is a difference. When a city council removed him, It was a temporary removal for cause. So therefore, he would have got his pay. He took a voluntary leave of absence. There is a difference for the dum-dum who called today. There is a difference between a voluntary leave of absence, because he left voluntarily, and I believe, and I think you have it, CJ.
Yep.
If you look at the charter, it refers to a statute, and that statute clearly states what, CJ?
Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 31, Section 37, which is the Civil Service Division, which you know.
Oh, I know it very well.
You know it very well. And it says very clearly that you can take a leave of absence, unpaid leave of absence, after you use your vacation and sick time. And if you're going to take a political appointment or a political elected position, you must take an unpaid leave of absence. And that position must be held until you complete your term.
So,
and there's other things contained within that. But basically it says you are not to be paid when you are on a leave of absence.
okay, so there you go, and them big giant letters about this big, it's unpaid. And it says it in the statute. That's why he's not supposed to be getting paid. And if he took a political appointment, he has to take a leave of absence. So that's what I preface this with. There is a difference because he took a voluntary leave of absence. He voluntarily left, which means he is not supposed to be drawing a paycheck.
No, and
Unpaid leave of absence. You can. So it gives anybody the right to do it. You want to say, hey, I want to go try another job for 6 months. Maybe I'm going to become an aide to a congressman in charge of extortion or something. I don't know. Whatever job you want to try. So you go and say, look, I'm going to leave for 6 months. But it's for my own benefit, whether it's to work on your case or what. You can leave, but you're not going to get your paycheck. The statute is clear. There is a difference. So again, politicians again attempting to give themselves preferential treatment. So now, Joe, you can go read the statute and try to misinterpret it, please. It just disturbs me because when I see stuff like this and people attempt, look, it's bad enough that they know they're getting away with it. Like I said, nobody's going to tell me that. The woman works on the 6th floor.
that's right.
Where's the assessor's office?
I think it's the 4th floor, isn't it?
4th or 5th? I don't even know where they are. The only thing I know is the 6th floor and the 2nd floor, that's where they take all my money. Everything else in between is just a blur in that building. But wherever the assessor's office is, it's in the same physical plant. It's in the same building.
Actually,
So you're going to tell me that this assessor, well, like I said, it could be gross incompetence. And if that's the case, again, we have a problem. The same problem we have with people not maintaining buildings, with people not doing their job and being paid for it. So apparently there's a problem. And the greatest problem with me is you can say it was the assessor, but I still blame Cathy Ann. Because Cathy Ann, every year, and you and I watch them religiously, we watch the budget hearings, and we watch her talk about how much tax revenue we are raising. And we watch her talk about unfunded liabilities, and we talking a great game. But she is a fiduciary. It's her job to ensure that we're getting everything we should. So you're going to tell me that she touted she's been a city administrator since the Flanagan administration. How many millions of dollars has this city lost? Not in unpaid taxes, but in underpaid taxes. And that's her job. That's her job.
You mean you want a political appointee to do her job? Come on.
So But I mean, it's clear. And if that doesn't disturb you, and like I said, just because they get special treatment, we should eliminate special treatment. Isn't somewhere in when our founding fathers created this country, they said that all men are created equal?
Yes.
And they are endowed by their creator, you know, and on and on and on. Well, we're not created equal. The politicians have become a nobility class. They are exempt from all the laws and all the things we have to do.
But you live.
I have to watch my money. I have to pay my tax bill. And I don't know that if I could have got away with underpaying my taxes and nobody getting into my property from 2016 to 2019, when I'm living in a neighborhood that everybody pays at $200,000 and I'm paying at $133,000. So I don't know. It's hard. Maybe I'm being a pessimist, but I think I'm a pragmatist. Let's be realistic. You're going to tell me that woman who works in the same building, who's part of the government, and whose job it is to ensure that we're getting every revenue stream we can, didn't have the ethics to realize that she was underpaying. And I think she did tell somebody when asked that, oh yeah, didn't you realize it? Oh no, I just didn't even notice. Really?
I noticed when my taxes go up.
Really? You didn't notice that you're paying on $133,000 and you're the financial wizard of Fall River? And who do they get to investigate her?
The chief financial officer.
They get Geppetto to investigate Pinocchio.
Yep. And here's one of our viewers, because obviously they're watching live now, says, is that the same Mary Sahadi who will try to get her hired as a deputy director of the Housing Authority? Because Mary Sahadi serves on the Housing Authority Board of Directors.
And
she gets money for doing that.
That's right.
That's a part-time job where she gets money. So does Jason Burns. Jason Burns gets money for doing that. Well, when you're on that Housing Authority Board, you get paid.
That's right. And with that payment, there's your 40 pieces of silver.
That's right.
Right? So that's what you get. But Mary Sahadi, obviously. And look, I don't care what you say. Objectivity. This individual has worked hand in hand with Cathy Ann Viveiros now for what, 4 or 5 years? She's been involved in the city for 30 years. She's part of the fabric of this incompetent government that has created the disaster that this city has become. And it's their obligation. Isn't that the same Mary Sahadi who was auditing the city when 25 accounts, there were accounts that were dormant for 25 years?
Of course.
But they didn't find them for 25 years? So look, that's like letting the wolf into the hen house. Do you really believe we're going to get more cover-ups, more collusion, and shame on the city? Shame on this city again. Voters, take out your ire in November.
That's it.
Because this is just beyond belief. I mean, when people look at this mess, and it just never ends. Now we've got, it's collusion. As far as I'm concerned.
I agree.
It's crazy.
I want to we're at the end of our show here, and I want to bring to our viewers' attention tonight, 6:30 on Channel 95, on the web, on Facebook, and also here in Building H in the auditorium will be a debate of the school committee. Please come and visit it if you want to come out and spend the time here at the studio, or I should say in the auditorium. There'll be plenty of seats. So be sure to watch. And you know what? In this case, what you heard today, stay angry. Don't even be angry. Be pissed off, all right?
Everybody filed for a tax abatement. We all want Cathy Ann's tax rate.
That's right. Hey, have a great day. We'll see you on Wednesday.